Poppy Playtime is going to be on mobile, and we also have release estimates for Chapter 2 and other news that we've gotten from the official Poppy team and Discord. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about immediately is the Poppy Playtime mobile port. According to the Poppy Discord, where most of this information is coming from, a mobile port for the game is almost here, and is set to release before Chapter 2 even comes out. And I'll talk more about the Chapter 2 release date in a bit, but we know the trailer for the game is coming in a week or so that means we're probably within the month from a Poppy Playtime mobile port, which is amazing news. Also, apparently Poppy is said to be optimized relatively successfully for mobile, as in the same announcement we hear that Poppy is supposed to run on older phones along with newer ones, which is great news, especially when considering that like the entire demographic of people who probably want a Poppy Playtime mobile port are people who most likely don't have a PC or anything, and probably couldn't really be bothered with having to get a new phone just to play a game. This is probably one of the smaller bits of information, but in my opinion it could be one of the most important for the mobile port's success. Remembering back to when Fortnite released on mobile, the requirements were incredibly limited with only the newest phones supporting it, along with games like FNAF that were a lot better but sacrificed a lot of quality to make it work on mobile, so hopefully this game optimizes well and has a great launch incredibly soon. Also, Poppy is actually going to be prioritizing mobile alongside desktop, because those on mobile will be seeing no delay for the new updates, and all the updates to the game will be released to all platforms on the same day, which is another one of those issues that all these other mobile ports have, where they're always like months late on updates, which really makes all of those inferior compared to what seems like a well-optimized full mobile version. Now let's talk about some Chapter 2 news, because we actually know a lot about the next chapter and what to expect for the future of the game, with release dates and even what the actual contents will be. So in terms of release estimates, the chapter trailer, as mentioned, will come out within the next couple of weeks according to their Discord server, and even though we do have a teaser for Chapter 2, that wasn't any real indication on what Chapter 2 is going to be like. However, obviously this second trailer is going to show off some lore, game mechanics, and the other many changes coming to the chapter. Now, in regards to these changes, we already have some ideas on what we will be getting. So first off, the lore of Poppy Chapter 2 is going to be way more expansive, and that was pretty expected. I mean, there have been all sorts of lore hints and teases throughout the game subtly through VHSs and even their discontinued NFTs. So as expected, their next chapter is going to take all those elements to the next level, because it definitely feels like it's one of the main focuses for the team. They are also planning on upgrading the fear factor to this chapter, as it's meant to be significantly scarier, which in my opinion is one of the things I'm the most excited for. Whether you love or hate Poppy Playtime, there's pretty much no denying the game is scary, mostly in the huggy chase scene that is easily my favorite chase scene I've ever personally played. And clearly this game is inspired by Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is fine, especially since Bendy has such a great story for the most part, but in my opinion what sucked about that title was how over time, when story was prioritized, they were sacrificing the fear factor of the horror game. But it seems like Poppy is headed in the right direction in those regards, because I really like the whole idea of keeping these chapters scary over time to add to the gameplay elements even more. In regards to game mechanics, Chapter 2 is going to be way more difficult, which I love to see. Chapter 1 brought out some great concepts and ideas like the whole electric pole puzzle thing, but they were sort of just a good draft. And going into the second chapter, I was hoping to see an upgrade in the puzzles, as that's what made it stand out among these indie games in my opinion. And it seems like I shouldn't be disappointed. We were also told that Poppy appears at the end of Chapter 1, which I assumed was kind of obvious since in the ending we literally open the doors she's inside, but maybe this could actually be a more important detail than I'm making it out to be, considering they're specifically pointing it out. I'd assume that something crucial happens in the ending with Poppy, and some sort of cutscene or dialogue is played that will transition the game into the second chapter. Another weird detail pointed out was that Chapter 2 will contain way more posters. Well, if you aren't too observant, you may not have noticed that across the entire first chapter there are posters with different characters that are presumably going to show up in the game later. However, there are supposedly going to be more of these posters, which I found weird considering there's already like 5 different characters being shown on these posters, yet apparently there could be potentially way more. Something that could also explain this is the possibility that when they say more posters, they're speaking broadly, and they could just use the same characters on different designs, but we will see. In regards to merchandise, there's going to be some more merch as honestly expected, which isn't something I personally care for, but I imagine that could be something to look forward to as well. But the final thing with Poppy I want to talk about is their expansion into other games. Yesterday we got an announcement that Poppy Playtime is going to be coming into Monsters and Mortals as a DLC after a Yandere Simulator one comes out before. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still doing research and playing through Dark Deception for future videos, so please bear with me when I say I don't really know much about that game and this whole Monster and Mortals thing. But from what I know, it's basically a spin-off of the popular game Dark Deception that brings the characters into a multiplayer field, and recently after the game game's November 2020 release, they've been bringing in characters from other developers as well. For example, the as mentioned Yandere Simulator characters, and as we now are seeing, Poppy Playtime. Now, we just got this announcement, so there's not much depth into what this DLC will look like, especially when considering this isn't expected to come out for a while. But I would assume when they say Poppy Playtime, they're probably referring to Huggy as a character, and maybe whoever else features in the future chapters by the time the DLC is released. But either way, it's super cool to see Poppy branching out into other games, and it gives me a lot of hope for its longevity, especially in regards to the updates for the title. The devs are communicating, the community is more active than ever, and the updates feel like they have so much potential to be big, and dare I say this game could even be competing with Bendy in the future if they handle everything properly. I have shown my suspicions of the developing team previously, because there have been many issues regarding the individuals involved along with the infamous NFT situations, and those concerns are still valid and worth noting, but the communication with the community has been undeniably immaculate. I mean, most of this information I got was entirely from their new Discord server, which I'll link below, where they have been constantly communicating with the members, recognizing and embracing fan contributions, and just overall have really been putting a lot into this game, and it's beginning to show. And I'm totally not saying all these good things about it because they gave me content creator role in their server. I hope everything goes as planned with this game, because a lot of the time we see these big indie ambitions go under from doing way too much. And this has even been seen with the devs themselves, as after the hate flooded in from the NFT thing they did, the team entirely stopped supporting the NFTs. However, they didn't take them down, because the contract they signed made it to where for now they can't remove them and they have to stay up there, which while I didn't support the NFTs along with anybody else, I don't know how I feel about them just randomly deciding to cut them off, despite the fact that they've already committed for however long the contract lasts. But to hear more about this and a more critical view in the game, check this video here. Comment your thoughts on this game or even DM me on Instagram for a response. Subscribe and peace.